Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Shireen Ben Zayed. I'm heading innovation at Finastra, and this is another live meetup we're conducting during our hackathon, Hack to the Future. Hack to the Future is actually a global fintech hackathon with already over 4,000 participants from more than 75 countries. It is aimed to redefine finance for goods, and it is still open. You've got till December 20 in case you'd like to join and submit a project. For more information, please check fintech.devpost.com. And today, as we speak about financial literacy, I'm really excited to be co-hosting this session with Claire Whitehead. Claire, over to you.
Thanks, Shireen. Hi, everybody. My name is Claire, and I'm the fintech platform lead at Rise London, created by Barclays. Rise was created in 2015 and is our open innovation platform. Rise brings together a global community of top innovators working with disruptive technology to change the way we manage financial services. We've got 3 locations across the globe: Mumbai, New York, and London. And we have over 125 fintech companies that sit within the space. It's great to be hosting this event with Finastra today. It's one of my highlights, actually, and I think the topic's going to be fantastic. We get together once a month to bring some thought leadership and insights for the community to enjoy. Yeah, back over to you, Shireen.
Thank you. So for this session, we'll be discussing a very important topic, which is financial literacy. We'll start with the definitions, why it is important. We'll also discuss the different populations and geographies that most need that, if there are any. And we'll see what are the different approaches that exist today and how technology can play a role there, how innovation plays a role there, as well as how fintechs, banks, and other players can contribute. And for that, we'd like to welcome an amazing panel of fintech founders and CEOs. Let's start with you, Smita. Can you please tell us a bit more about you and what you do at Mrin?
Hi, thank you, Shireen. Thank you, Claire. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Smita. I'm the co-founder of Brondel, which is a peer-to-peer lending platform based in India. And our focus is on reaching out to low-income entrepreneurs, mostly women who are financially excluded, and helping them get access to affordable credit. So that's what we do.
Thank you. Over to Mrin from Finsafe.
Thank you, Claire, and thank you, Shireen, and good evening, everyone. Nice to be here today. My name is Mrin Agrawal, and I run a financial wellness company based out of Bangalore, India. We basically work with corporations on financial well-being of their employees. Our aim is to really spread financial literacy among people in India so that they can lead better lives and impact others' lives as well.
Thanks a lot, Mrin. We're really excited to have you with us today. And last but not least, Diana, who's the founder and CEO of Xaalys.
Yes, hi everybody. My name is Diana. So I have founded the first French banking platform for teenagers from 12 to 17 to really enhance financial literacy and to help kids and their parents to be more at ease around money subjects, because myself, I am the mother of 2 kids, and the idea was really to broadcast and to develop a solution that everybody could use to really help our teenagers to be more at ease around money.
Thank you, Diana. Okay, to kick off the session, I think, as we always do, let's take it back to basics. And if somebody could kind of help us to define and sort of lay the groundwork for what financial literacy is. Who wants to take that one on?
I could jump in.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, me again. I think financial literacy is very important because at one point in time, the question is not as much how much money you have, but how are you going to be at ease around the money that you have and the sums that you that are available to you. So for me, it was very important to really work with the teens, around the teens, with their parents to really make sure that independently of the amount, really how you are going to manage the sums that you have available. And we do it through different steps. So I think we'll come back to that. But no, for me, it was really more an enabler than something else.
Thank you, Diana. I think another question that goes along with that is actually, why do you think it's important, especially that you three focus and you've built companies focusing on financial literacy. So what inspired you to maybe get into that field and work on financial literacy? I don't know, Mrin or Smita, if you'd like to take that.
I think I'd like to take that. So I think financial literacy is really important because it's an essential life skill. And you really can't manage without money. And money can't buy you happiness, but certainly having a good amount of money can lead you to a better life. So I think it's an important life skill. Through my working life, I have only managed wealth of very, very rich people. But what I saw all around me was that most working people find it really difficult to manage money because it's not something that's being taught at school or at college, and it's not being spoken about at home as well. Plus, with the ever-changing financial environment, it's all that much more difficult. So that's what inspired me to get into financial education and start my company.
Thanks, Mrin. I guess one for Smita then is, like, who do you think are the worst served? And can you give us an example of some people that maybe are struggling or do need some more support?
Oh, yes, I can give an example of the communities that we work with. So essentially, our lending platform is meant for people who are unbanked and until recently did not even have access to bank accounts. So considering that many of them are either semi-literate or literate and, struggle with some of the basic concepts, I think for them to be extremely aware of, what financial products to choose or even the basics on how do they, manage things like bookkeeping was extremely important. So they're all running, enterprises at, grassroots. But then for them to be able to manage this was extremely important. And so I think we are stuck in this very dichotomous world. On one hand, India is leapfrogging in terms of breakthroughs in technology and financial literacy in some sense. But then on the other hand, we are leaving behind a large population. So it is this population that we are extremely, aware of, and we want to make sure that some of these breakthroughs actually reach them. And that's what our financial literacy aims to do, really bridge this gap between the underserved communities and the breakthroughs that are happening around us.
No, I think it was really interesting, actually, hearing you, Smita, talk about the target population that you're helping with Brandy is, and thinking about Xaalys and Finsafe, is to actually see how diverse populations and completely different populations would have very similar needs when it comes to financial education and financial literacy. Diana, do you want maybe to share with us a bit more about the populations that you serve with Xaalys and what particularities you would have there?
Definitely. So I am more focused around teenagers. So my main focus is really to work around teenagers from 12 to 17 years old. My idea being when you start going to high school, you start getting more autonomy, you start being more by yourself, And the idea was really to say, okay, once you have a smartphone, once you get more independent, how can I help you as a fintech to be more at ease around money? So I have built a solution that is dedicated and aimed to teenagers from 12 to 17. And the idea is really to help them be more at ease with their money. So they have a debit card, they have an IBAN, a BIN sponsorship. The parents are able to give them and provide them money. And the idea is really, and what was really important for me, because they remain children and they remain kids. So it was not a way for me to subsidize myself of the parents. The idea was really to say, okay, what added value can I bring to parents to help them and to help their kids be more at ease around the subject. So the idea is, so we built applications with two interfaces, one for the kid, one for the teenager. So the kid and the teenager can spend his money. He has his own card. He can spend and he knows where he can spend. And the parent can really control in real time and real life what's going on. And since it was not only about money, it was also very important for us to embed financial literacy. So the way we did it is that we partnered up with public actors in France who gave us and who provide us with content. So the kids can not only have their own payment means, but they also have a possibility to be able to be taught how to spend money, what money is about, how money functions, and really like to build a very virtuous cycle, I would say.
I agree. I think it's so important that we're educating kids from a young age so they get into the right habits, and also appealing to them at that time, because most banking products that are out there really aren't aimed at kids. So I think it's amazing work that you're doing. Actually, at Rise, we work closely with a company called Stemet, who their aim is to encourage young girls to go into STEM subjects. So we host a hackathon with them every year. And the challenge statement is to create an app, like a fintech app, that encourages young kids to save and start saving, getting into habits of budgeting and creating goals to aim for. And it's just so amazing to see the kids be inspired and actually put their ideas into the sort of products that they'd want. So they include a lot of gamification and I don't know, using Pokemon Go and ideas that, you know, adults would just never come up with to create financial products for that generation. So super interesting. Mrin, you're looking at a different market completely, and maybe a market that we maybe wouldn't consider as being underserved, but tell us about how you've sort of identified that gap and who you're serving. Sorry, you're on.
Mrin, I think you're on mute. Yeah.
All right. Yes. We basically work with educated working professionals. The reason that we decided to work with the educated working professionals was because irrespective of the amount of money that you earn, if you're not able to save it and if you're not able to invest it well, you're not going to lead a good life. And we find the lifestyle creep was the highest in this segment. Also, I firmly believe that if we are able to get this segment to be financially literate, they can actually then pass it on to people around them, and which could be, you know, people in their family or people who help them as well or work with them as well. And that's why we actually decided to first go with the educated. Also, another thing is that people always presume that people who are educated or let's say if they are not underprivileged, they always presume that such people have a lot of financial knowledge. Well, I can tell you that most of them don't. And most people really are not even able to build a basic core portfolio in place. A majority of people in India do not take structured financial advice or create structured financial plans. So that's why we felt that we would be really able to add value. And hopefully with those people getting literate, they can make a bigger impact to people around them.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mrin. It's really interesting to see how different populations have the same needs, and whatever your revenue levels are, at the end of the day, you might be struggling in the same way to sort of manage your finances. So yeah, Diana, really interesting to have this all started early with kids to try to provide better education to everyone. You started actually, and you've shared a little bit about the methods and what approaches, what methodologies you've been using there. Claire, you mentioned also gamification and some of the ideas that the kids had at the Rise Hackathon. Can you share with us some of the approaches that you use, and if you have any practical advices on the way you bring that financial education to your target users? Maybe starting with you, Smita.
Yes, for our communities, we have kept the financial literacy programs extremely simple. In fact, it's all audio visual, so they don't really need to be in a classroom sort of a situation. So these videos are available to them in their local language, and it's all very customized. So people can actually decide what they want to watch with just very simple navigation on their phones, and they should be able to access these videos. And based on which communities we are working with, the content, the language, everything really changes. So that's about accessing the program itself. But then in order to ensure that that's actually resulting in behavior change, we have a lot of incentives. There are certain behaviors that get rewarded, and there's a little bit of healthy competition that is built into the community as well. So women tend to nudge each other and say, okay, oh, she actually got this reward because she had displayed this behavior. So we started to see some changes in the way people were borrowing, making decisions about their loans, which was a very big win for us. So I think incentives, making it very adaptive, making it very localized, understanding the context where the women come from, and helping them connect the dots really, really worked in our case.
Thank you. Mrin or Diana, anything to add to that, or any different methods you have been using with your users?
Well, we have been, our sessions have been really classroom led, because we do a lot of financial planning sessions, and it's not really a subject that we find people can learn on their own. Of course, we do have some self-learning content that's available, but ours is primarily led through classroom sessions because of the fact that we focus on financial planning.
And Diana, is it different for the younger generation?
Yes, I think for the younger generation, it's very important to make it really fun and accessible. Otherwise they don't want to tackle this kind of subjects. So what we are really working on is really to see and to work within the teams how we make it digestible, and how do we make sure that, okay, when we teach them, we are not that much in a classroom, but we are really helping them, gaining, braining, and getting acumen. So it goes through fun, so it goes through gamification, it goes through different modules to really help them be more acquainted with those notions, which are going to be important for them at one point in their lives. And even though they are young yet, but they have to start to get familiarized with those notions. So our aim is really to see how we can work with all those teams and all those children and all those teenagers to make sure that we provide them with accessible, digestible content.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I guess a kind of follow-on question to that would be, how are you measuring your success? And are there any effective metrics, or can you kind of look at the analytics around interaction on your app to measure how successful this is, or is it something we won't see for 5 years when your customers have started to sort of take those that education on and actually have some savings in the bank and be able to make some investments and things?
Okay, I think I could take that question. What we do is we definitely at all time measure and follow up how many quizzes, questionnaires, questions the kids have looked at. What are they interested in? And we also do a lot of client voices, not only to understand what they like, but also what they need. So we always work with some partners to start to enhance, complete the content, and to make sure that it's always relevant for the different customers. But to answer you very clear, the only way to know if the content you're providing makes sense is to make sure that you have a measure and you are able to follow up and to make sure like what they look at, what they're interested in, and then to make sure that you provide them with adequate content.
No, thank you, Diana. Mrin and Smita, do you have similar approaches when it comes to measuring success and measuring really the impact of the content that you are providing to your customers and users?
Absolutely. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Absolutely. We have an effectiveness matrix that we provide to the company.
No, I think we might have lost Mrin.
Yeah.
Looks like. Smita, do you want to go for it?
Sure.
Mrin is back.
Absolutely. So in our case, we set out trying to measure how our financial literacy programs can bring about a change in people's borrowing patterns. And this included metrics like, how are they making decisions about their loans? How do they decide on even the loan amount that they want? So these were things that we started to measure. And over a period of time, we also started to get data on how their banking transactions have changed. So earlier, they all had just bank accounts, but usage was almost minimal. So because we had access to that data through their passbooks, we started to see, how that had changed. So these are 2 or 3 important things, because when we set out with our financial literacy program, we wanted people to make responsible decisions about their borrowing. We also wanted people to increase their savings so that they don't need to borrow more. So these were 2 important metrics that we were tracking. And for both, we had data readily available. And for the long-term behavior change, we're trying to see if randomized control trials can actually help us get more data that is very authentic and objective. So those are 2 different ways in which we get our data.
Oh, thank you. That's really interesting. And here we see the importance of data actually in this and providing and making sure that the financial education that you provide is actually making a real impact on users. There's a point that I think is really important is how do you see the role of technology in general, and possibly also the role of open banking if you're leveraging that in the success of financial literacy?
I think we can't afford to, not look at technology in this day and age. And if you're looking at scale, especially, in a country like India, if you don't really look at things at a scale that India needs, you're really not solving the problem. So I think technology can play a huge role in, helping us reach out to the kind of population we want to and scale our financial literacy programs. So I think technology, human-centered design, empathy, and a combination of all of these three can actually help design better solutions for the communities we work with. And that's really the need of the day.
Thanks a lot, Smita. And I do remember something that you said when we were discussing this, which is poor people doesn't mean poor solutions. And it's really, it's really impressive to see the technology and the methodology, design thinking, human-centered design that you're using to provide the best experience ever to these populations. So yeah, well done.
Absolutely, Shireen.
Sorry, Clary, you wanted to add something to that.
Oh, I've lost my train of thought now, Shireen.
I see we have Mrin back as well. So Mrin, we're actually discussing the role of technology and the role of open banking in enabling financial literacy. If you have anything to add there, the way you're using technology and the way you're using possibly open banking as well, that would be interesting.
Well, I think certainly, the use of technology has been very limited as of now in financial literacy. And it's quite amazing that in India, for example, we are leading as far as digital payments is concerned, and there's widespread knowledge about digital payments. But when it comes to financial literacy, I find it quite lacking. And this is where I do feel that we do need some more innovation around financial literacy in terms of use of technology in financial literacy to make it more widespread. As of now, what I really see is, let's say, media campaigns or around financial literacy, but that's not enough. And somewhere, probably an AI-powered tool would be nice around financial literacy.
Yeah, I think an AI-powered tool would work really well to have kind of a financial literacy chatbot or advisor. I know there are some companies in the Rise space that are looking at supporting the kind of everyday person to make good financial decisions based on sort of personal wealth advisors through AI. So super interesting. We actually have a company called Multiply. They're brilliant, so you should check them out, based out of Rise London. I think this leads quite nicely onto whose responsibility it really is to ensure that people are educated in how to manage their money. Is it the role of the banks? Is it schools? Is it parents? Is it governments? Diana, do you want to touch on that first, actually? Because it's probably quite different from the kind of the younger age group.
Yes. No, definitely. For me, it's first and really the parents are the ground, because I think it's first and foremost the role of the parents to educate the kids to be more at ease around money. Of course, when you are really young and even when you are 12 years old, you can start getting a bank account, but you don't get counsel. For me, the really important thing is not only to know how much you have, but how do you sequence, how do you organize, how do you invest? And for me, it's something that has to be taught by the parents. The reason why a solution like Xaalys exists is that because some parents do not have any tools and they do not have any metrics, they don't know how to talk about money to their parents. So this is what we build. So we, as bankers, or former bankers, and as parents, we also work on building solutions that could be widely spread and could be widely shared to make sure that all of our teens are correctly educated. But it's not done by governments. It's not done by schools. So at one point of time, we also have, like to take the subject, and if we collectively agree that it's an important subject, we also have to build the solutions and to make sure that we have the means to make sure that we can do it. And this is why I did it as a parent.
Yeah, and then starting from a young age is so important. And I think we talked about it a little bit in the briefing call, but just opening up the conversation and talking about money a less of a taboo subject, I think is something that we need to get over. Talk to our parents, talk to our friends, and that's how we can really learn. Mrin, do you want to add to this point on who should be responsible for educating?
I think everybody should be responsible. And first off, I would certainly say parents need to talk more about money. It's a really taboo subject in most families, not only in India, across the world. Parents really don't talk about money. To children, they don't want to burden them. But I really feel, especially once they're at the age, let's say when they get into high school and they're planning to get into college, I think that's the time when parents really need to start talking much more. As I said, it should be a life skill that should be taught at school and college, and taken seriously as well. So what we hear is that unless the school or the college system provides credits for it, the students themselves are not really interested. So somewhere I've always seen that there's this real push towards physical well-being today, and there's a lot of interest among people in running marathons, for example. And marathon has kind of got this cult status of being something very happening and very cool and exciting to be with. And somewhere probably the ecosystem around financial literacy also needs to be about having financial freedom is very cool and exciting and happening as well. So I think there are a lot of people, stakeholders across the ecosystem who need to kind of pitch in.
I like that. We need to make financial literacy cool. Talk about it more often. Smita, do you want to add anything on this point, or should we move on?
I think just want to emphasize on the role of lenders in financial literacy. And I think gone are the days when, terms of lending is more a fine print. I think with open banking becoming the norm and technology actually getting banking to our doorstep, in fact, to our palm, I think it's very important to see how we can ensure that we are lending responsibly and ensuring that financial literacy in whatever way it's possible gets incorporated into our practices. I think that's what I would like to add to it.
Thanks a lot, Smita. Before we get into our last question, I just wanted to say hello to all of to everyone that is watching us on LinkedIn and YouTube. I see lots of people from Lebanon, Serbia, Papua New Guinea, amazing, Saudi Arabia, South Africa. So thank you all for joining us. Please make sure you post your questions on the chat, and we'll take them with Claire, Smita, Diana, and Mrin. And actually, the last questions for our panelists here would be about really what do you see next? And maybe as part of the hackathon that is going on right now, focusing on redefining finance and financial literacy is one of the challenges there. What are the innovations that you would like to see coming next, possibly out of the hackathon? Diana, as one of our hackathon judges, do you want to go first on this one?
Definitely. No, I would like to start. For me, it's really a question of expanding. And when I talk about expanding, is that I really need. So I am targeting children from 12 years on. I think they can start earlier. Okay. I think we can start earlier, and as everybody was saying, Claire, Mrin, and Smita, I think that we restrain ourselves and we do not talk as parents, as siblings, enough about money. But kids can understand because they have a velocity that we do not have, and we can start teaching them very early. So what I would really like to come out, what I really like to see as an output of the hackathon is really to say, okay, how do we do to work on sensibilization for youngsters younger than 12, be they 10, be they 8? How do we do it with their words? How do we sensibilize them? Like for instance, I've launched my company because my son lost a tooth, and like we're having discussion about how much the mouse should let under the pillow, and I was just like, okay, I'm really not well bred. And I think it's very interesting, and I think there are really some metrics, and the kids are more intelligent than we think, and I think that we could help them earlier on, be more at ease. So what I will really expect from the hackathon is really to see how do we make a generation younger than 12, or be they 10, be they 8, be they 7 or 6, more aware and more at ease around money. Because the earlier we start, the more they're going to manage.
And I would just like to add there that, to aid that process, it'll be nice if the governments in the respective countries can put a focus on it. For example, in the US, there is a focus from certain states, and there are certain states where all the universities are mandated to have financial literacy. I think the schools are also mandated to have some amount of financial literacy. So I think some bit of mandating from the government always helps to give that push to get people to start doing it.
No, thank you. That's definitely a collective responsibility here, both with government, schools, and innovators like yourselves, fintechs, lenders, as Smita mentioned earlier. So, Smita, anything to add there? What would you want to see coming next in terms of innovation in this space?
I think who we are designing for is extremely important, because all of us are talking about different needs, different kinds of communities, and I think bearing in mind local context and who we are designing for is extremely important. I think if that as I mentioned earlier, I think being very empathetic to that community will actually help in designing the right solutions for them. I think technology, solves a lot of problem, but then a large part of the problem. But being very aware of these local contexts and who we are designing for will go a long way in ensuring adoption of it. Because who are we designing for? We are designing for our users, and if we don't really bear who we are designing for, we may just end up creating something that's of no use to people. I think that's my 2 cents to what I would expect from solutions that are being designed.
No, absolutely, that's a key point, keeping the focus on user and designing for those specific users. And we saw it clearly here, like with the different populations that you are targeting at Randy, Finsafe, and Xaalys, completely different populations, different approaches to financial literacy, and all of these use cases having human-centered design, looking into the users and designing something that works for them. Also making sure that you are measuring their usage and acting on that. Measuring success is definitely key. So yeah, definitely lots of advices, good tips for the hackers, good ideas as well that you shared earlier. I like the one that you shared earlier, Claire, about having using AI and having maybe a smart assistant to help in everyday financial decisions, to to be more literate there as well and make better decisions. As we are getting to the end of the sessions, we're still open to questions from the audience, so feel free to post these on the chat and we'll take them with the speakers. I'd like maybe to take a minute, just if you can all share with our audience today how they can possibly reach out to you to continue the discussion and learn more about what you do. Maybe starting with you, Smita.
Oh, sure. I think the best way to get in touch with us is through our website, rangde.in, rangd.in. You can also follow us on Twitter for all the latest updates. I think those are the two ways to reach out to us.
Thank you. Diana, do you want to go next?
Yes, definitely the same as Smita. If you want to get in touch with us, you can, of course, contact us on our website, so Xaalys.com. You can reach out on us for us on Twitter, and you can send us mail. So my private mail is diana@xaalys.com. So please feel free if you have some specific questions to reach out, and I'll be more than happy to answer.
And over to you, Mrin.
We can be reached on our website, which is finsafe.in, or LinkedIn, both my personal LinkedIn as well as Finsafe LinkedIn and Twitter as well. And my email ID is very simple. It's mrin@finsafe.in. So please feel free to reach out to us.
Thank you. I have a question on sort of technology is advancing and it is enabling us to better understand our finances. And using open banking, we can aggregate all of our finances and see them all in one place, which is amazing. And it does help to kind of understand a holistic view of all of your finances. But also on other side, in other industries like retail, technology is also advancing to make things like purchasing so easy and frictionless, and offering credit at checkout or buy now, pay later, and all of these kind of new habits that tech is enabling are actually leading to bad habits for the next generation. And I wondered whether, what your thoughts are how we educate other people and ourselves to not fall into these bad habits that will, lead to us being in a poorer financial situation.
Can I take that? I think every country designed a poster on COVID saying, wash your hands, use a sanitizer, disinfect, right? Or cover your mouth. So they have the three things, right? Wash your hands, cover your mouth, and whatever else, right? So they had a poster with three things on it. And I think, what if you can have like how it was driven by the governments again, have a poster with, three basic financial habits that you always need to follow. Or again, if these are three financial habits, which is be careful of the credit that you're taking, and of course, save more than you're spending. Couple of these three or four key financial habits. Again, also with the AI, with the tools. So while it's so easy to take a buy now, pay later scheme, maybe when you're buying that, there needs to be a small pop-up. So it probably needs to be the social responsibility of the fintech firm to kind of just put a pop-up to say, hey, hope you're not overborrowing, or some message like that.
Yeah, I think so. It's very easy to borrow now, and there's so many fintechs in the space. So I think that's a very good point. Actually, someone on the chat has asked who the name of the AI-powered wealth advisory company, and that was actually Multiply AI. So they're a automated financial advice app, made it free and easy. So check them out. They're based out of Rise London. They're a great company.
Cool. We've got also another questions from Courtney Kurakan. I think this one is specific for Finastra and covering engaging with local banking, credit union, saving beyond really financial literacy and more focus on affordable credit facilities. We definitely do that at Finastra, and so I'll be in touch offline, Courtney, and we can discuss that. Claire, I don't know if you have any other questions. I don't see any more questions from our audience. No, then I think we're good for today. Thank you so much for sharing all of insights and experiences from your respective fintech companies. It was great to have this global perspective actually to financial literacy, and to have it also tackling different types of populations, different revenue levels, different age levels as well. That was very insightful. So thank you all for your time. It was a pleasure co-hosting this with you, Claire.
And you. It's been wonderful. Thanks. Thank you all the speakers for your time today, and thanks to everyone for tuning in, and have a great December.
Thanks, ladies.
Bye.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you all. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Last year's Hack to the Future brought together 1,080 hackers from 38 countries. 235 ideas were submitted and 122 published. Over 50,000 in prizes were awarded to the winners. It was incredible. Bright, motivated hackers from around the globe collaborated to build inspiring innovations in the world of financial services. From corporate and retail banking to payments and capital markets, ideas and new solutions were born. Now, we invite you to Finastra's 2020 Hack to the Future, hacking systemic inequality, embracing technology-enabled change, hacking through COVID-19. So, are you ready? Our challenge themes support inclusion and diversity. Help us amplify the voices of the unheard. Give the unprivileged the same access to tools and opportunities necessary to succeed in this life. Integrate physical and digital experiences. Find new growth streams and embed fintech across industries. Accelerate open innovation with a global developer community, hacking around the clock, around the globe. We'll host virtual learning and network events, and an online community where you can ask questions, share ideas, and get support. Enter for your chance to win prizes, like internship opportunities with Finastra, waived fees for apps ready for our open innovation platform on fusionfabric.cloud, and other incredible prizes from our partners. Go to fintech.devpost.com for full details and to get started. See you there.